What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Brace yourself. I will be talking about Manny Pacquiao in this video. Some of you guys can't handle that. You're like, oh, I'm unsubscribing. You're biased because I don't agree with the shit y'all want me to say. So I'm biased. Like, fuck out of here. Anyway, some people think I hate Pacquiao. And before you get your panties in a bunch, I don't hate Pacquiao. I actually like him. He's entertaining, done memorable, favorable things in the sport of boxing. It looks like a deal was reached for Chris Algieri, Manny Pacquiao, Macau, China, November 22nd. And I don't like the fight. And I'm going to explain in this video why. If anyone wants to intelligently have a debate with me, not no dumb shit like Mayweather's ducker, he's pussy. Like, I just bypass bullshit like that. But if you want to dispute what I'm saying in this video, feel free to leave an intelligent comment and I'll get back to y'all as much as I can. So, the reason I'm not on board with this fight is because we're seeing Pacquiao face yet another person with some kind of weight stipulation. It's happened so many times with Pacquiao. Timothy Bradley hadn't continually fought at welterweight. He actually only fought at welterweight once against Abregu, dropped back down to 140, continued cleaning up, and then he moved back up to face Pacquiao. Marquez in the third fight jumped up 2 weight classes to fight Pacquiao to chase that rematch. You've seen Oscar De La Hoya late in his career. Keyword late in his career. He had to drop down a weight class and fight Pacquiao, got the shit beat out of him, and he retired. So it just lets you know where De La Hoya was in his particular career at that particular moment. He was on his last leg and cutting weight at a late point in your career. When you're older, you've been through wars like the Felix Trinidad fights, the Shane Mosley fights, it takes its toll oftentimes. And he just looked, and he was in bad shape. Miguel Cotto, catchweight. Margarito, catchweight. You're an 8 division champ, and that was at a catchweight for a vacant belt. And now we're dealing with yet another. It looks like Chris Algieri, from what I'm hearing, it's not official. I don't know if they released this, but I heard the fight's going to take place at 144 instead of welterweight. Now, there's so many reasons why I'm not too fancy on this fight. One, it's going to be pay-per-view. Why? You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's pay-per-view worthy. I don't think it's pay-per-view caliber. And literally the only thing that you could use to reference as why this may be a good competitive fight is the fact that Pacquiao has struggled with pure boxers, that style, someone who's like a thinker and a counterpuncher and good movement and stuff like that. That has been his biggest struggle. If you come straight at him, he's going to beat the shit out of you and destroy you. And that's really the only saving grace in this fight, that Chris Algieri is agile and he moves well and stuff like that. But he has no power at 140. So the argument I'm hearing is, oh, Chris Algieri's a big dude because he's 5'10". So he is big for his division frame-wise, but he carries no power at 140. Now you're having him pack on 4 more pounds, which probably wouldn't be a problem for his frame, but that doesn't mean he's going to look any better or any stronger. He's a nutritionist. I'm pretty sure cutting weight is not a problem. He went to school for that, went to college for that, so that's not really an issue. And again, you have to acclimate to different weight, despite how your frame is. If you're accustomed to cutting weight and fighting at 140, you can't just, because your body might be a more natural fit at 147, expect to be good. Look at Marcos Maidana in his very first fight at welterweight against Devin Alexander. He looked like pure shit. Now, some of it could have been because he didn't have Robert Garcia in his corner, but either way, he wasn't acclimated to the welterweight division. As he continued to fight at welterweight, he looked better and better. So shout out to Robert Garcia for working with him, and he just filled in and looked better. Same thing with Robert Guerrero. Look at Robert Guerrero, long layoff, fought Selçuk Aydin, and that was his first fight at welterweight. He looked okay. He looked like he was fatiguing. He looked very small. He didn't look like a true welterweight. Then he came back in the Berto fight, looked like he looked a little bit better. Then he looked pretty solid. He actually looked bigger than Mayweather. So oftentimes it takes a minute to get used to it's like, why do fighters, when they go to fight overseas, they get there a little bit early? Because they have to acclimate. They have to get used to the new time zone. If you're on California time and then you go to England or Macau, China to fight, then you got to get used to their time zone and waking up at a different time. And it's no different for weight classes. So although Chris Algieri frame-wise looks big, that doesn't mean it's an advantage to him, because he hasn't fought at 144 or 147. He's been fighting at 140. And using that same argument, look at a guy like Paul Williams. That motherfucker was like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". So does that mean he can just automatically jump up and fight at cruiserweight because his frame would suggest that he could probably pack on pounds and, you know what I mean, like a Chad Dawson, and be tall. No, it doesn't mean that, because again, you have to acclimate, you have to get used to a new weight division. Another thing, we're holding our only hope that this will be competitive based on the fact that Chris Algieri can box a bit, and the fact that Pacquiao has struggled with the pure boxer style. But the big difference is, look at the people who have made Pacquiao struggle. They were certified. They're all Hall of Famers. Eric Morales, you know what I'm saying? Good boxer puncher, good boxing ability, and that was kind of towards his prime or whatever. Then you look at Timothy Bradley. Take Pacquiao, both fights off of Tim Bradley's resume, and his resume is still deep. He has fights with Nate Campbell when Nate Campbell was worth a damn. He has fights with Ruslan Provodnikov. He has fights with even guys like Andre Ward in the amateurs. You know what I'm saying? He fought Devin Alexander, Lamont Peterson, Timothy Bradley. His resume is deep without Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is, folks. You look at Pacquiao and you're like, oh, he struggled with the Marquezes. Take Pacquiao, all four Pacquiao fights off Marquez's record, and he still has a legendary resume. You know what I mean? Fighting people like Barrera, fighting Chris John, fighting Orlando Salido, fighting Mike Alvarado recently. Even without Pacquiao, Marquez is still a legend. He fought Michael Katsidis when Michael Katsidis had a name in the sport, different things like that. So Marquez is still certified. Juan Diaz, he has his resume is deep. These people have deep resumes. Then you cross over to Chris Algieri, and most of you guys didn't even know who he was prior to Ruslan Provodnikov. And you scroll down the list, you look down the list, and his resume is not impressive. He fought Emmanuel Taylor and went the distance with him. Emmanuel Taylor's fighting Kareem Mayfield. He fought Mike Arnautis, who Josecito Lopez also beat off of an injury. You know what I'm saying? It's not an impressive resume. Like these names don't just stand out when you see Chris Algieri's resume. And like I said, just look at the names: Eric Rodriguez, Henry White Jr., Jason Jordan. Do you really know any of these people? Ken Dunham. You know what I'm saying? Raheem Carter. Who the fuck is that? That sounds like a rapper. And the whole sole hope is that he's slick enough to trouble and make this a competitive fight. So again, I'm not for it. And I think there's a lot of double standards in boxing. Like Floyd Mayweather's rematching Marcos Maidana, and some people are up in arms like this is bullshit. And the reason we're getting this rematch is because some of y'all begged for it, and you might be like, oh, what are you talking? What the fuck are you talking about, ego? I never begged for it. You did beg for it by talking shit. You said that Mayweather lost, that it was a draw, and now he's setting the record straight, and you're not happy with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, which one is it? When they were talking about Amir Khan versus Manny Pacquiao, good fight, especially with where both fighters are in their career. Amir Khan's kind of trying a new favorable style, and it looks like he's getting adjusted to it a bit more with Virgil Hunter because he looked good in the Collazo fight. And Pacquiao seems to be on the decline. He got lifted up by Bradley's punch, and got knocked out a few fights ago. So it'd be interesting to see that matchup now because both people have certain advantages. Obviously the chin advantage would be to Pacquiao. Speed would probably be on Amir Khan's side. The range and length would be on Amir Khan's side. So it's an interesting fight. Then you throw Chris Algieri in. It's not that exciting. And I don't think it's pay-per-view worthy at all. I feel Top Rank is reaching with some of these matchups. Cotto versus Bradley they're talking about. Chris Algieri versus Pacquiao. I mean, what the fuck is that? And you have the audacity to talk about Mayweather versus Maidana being a bad rematch. And at the end of the day, Mayweather Maidana, there's an element of intrigue. There's an element of danger because we know Maidana is unorthodox and he throws them chopping, looping, crazy angle punches, and he's aggressive. His stamina look better. So there's an element of danger. Floyd's older than Pacquiao. There's an element of danger because we're in there with the puncher who's improving. You know what I'm saying? And he might have a chip on his shoulder from the first fight. And he got a feel for Mayweather. Now, I'm not saying this is the best fight in the world or, it's the fight that I would pick number one on my list. But how dare you talk about Mayweather Maidana and you're on board and making excuses for Chris Algieri and Pacquiao at a catchweight? Like, it just makes no sense. Like I said, Maidana, Mayweather 2, I think Mayweather's going to thoroughly beat him. I think he started making the adjustments in the second half of the first fight, so I think he's going to pick up where he left off. However, there's still that element of danger. This fight, there's not really an element of danger. The only danger is Pacquiao could look like shit and get outboxed by a guy at a catchweight. You know what I mean? He's not going to get knocked out by Chris Algieri. Chris Algieri has a 40% knockout ratio, and Pacquiao has a chin. So, I mean, unless something's seriously wrong with Pacquiao, he's not getting knocked out. The worst thing that could happen is he could get, you know what I'm saying, could look sloppy. But again, this fight is happening in a pro-Asian country. You know what I'm saying? It's happening in Macau, China, with a Filipino fighter. So who's at an advantage here? You know what I mean? Look at Canelo Lara. A lot of people thought Lara should have won. Some people thought Canelo should have won. The judges had a ridiculous scorecard, 117 to 111. You put Pacquiao in a pro-Asian like population. You know what I mean? Who do you think, if it is a close fight, who do you think the judges are going to favor? Chris Algieri, or are they going to favor the Pacquiao, the international superstar who has a bigger name? You know what I'm saying? So I don't like this fight, like I said, and I find it mighty amusing how people bring Mayweather up, and you can go tit for tat with me, and I guarantee you'll lose because you can't compare any. You'll be like, oh, but Mayweather fought Canelo. Yeah, Canelo was undefeated and a belt holder, and it was in a higher division, even with the catchweight. You know what I'm saying? Would you rather see Pacquiao fight Canelo at a catchweight of 152, or would you rather see Chris Algieri at 144? You know what I mean? A guy that didn't carry power at 140. You know what I mean? We're going to see him at 4 pounds higher. And another funny point is Mayweather Maidana. Some of you guys hate Mayweather so much that it looked like he got a purse of 1.5 million. Maidana did. And I think he got some Argentina pay-per-view proceeds or some shit in his deal. And you guys were outraged. You're like, this is bullshit. Floyd's making 32 million and Maidana's only getting 1.5. Are you fucking kidding me? And guess what deal Pacquiao, top ranked Bob Arum, offered to Chris Algieri? Virtually the same deal. Initially, 1.5 million. Now, if it wasn't for Chris Algieri playing hardball, he might not have got more. So it looks like he got more, but that was the initial offer that they made for him. And when Mayweather did it, it was blasphemous. And props to Chris Algieri for holding out. I think Chris Algieri realizes that Pacquiao is running out of options. Nobody's going to pay for Pacquiao Mike Alvarado unless he did something triumphant and significant. You know what I mean? He lost his last, 2 fights? And the third fight was the Brandon Rios rematch, and he barely won that, got hurt in the second round. So the top rank knew they were in the bind, and they had to really give Chris Algieri whatever the fuck he wanted because they didn't do business. They didn't want to do business with Golden Boy. They didn't want to make like a Canelo fight or Amir Khan fight. They want to keep everything in house as usual. And a Jesse Vargas fight wouldn't sell. You couldn't sell a fight with Mike Alvarado, who's coming off back-to-back losses and getting hurt in both of those fights. The fight with Marquez and also the fight with Ruslan Provodnikov, he was stopped. So Chris Algieri held out, played hardball, got a little bit more money, and now we're seeing this November 22nd. Again, you can go tit for tat. You'd be like, oh, he fought an old Mosley. Yeah, but he also fought Mosley, who beat the shit out of Antonio Margarito, who's arguably cheating. And that's the version of Mosley he faced. You know what I mean? Victor Ortiz. This was before Victor Ortiz started rapidly quitting and taking long layoffs and stuff like that. The only time he had quit previously was in the Maidana fight. And he was coming off the Berto win. Ricky Hatton was undefeated. So a lot of you guys, you want to compare, don't compare it to someone who knows boxing. You want to compare Pacquiao and his decision making. You're like, they both do the same thing. Mayweather is at least fighting these people in better situations. They're coming off of big wins. Robert Guerrero was a mandatory with the interim belt. He got that from Selçuk Aydin. And Selçuk Aydin was undefeated before Robert Guerrero. Then he fought Andre Berto, beat the shit out of him till the later rounds. And then he got the Mayweather fight as the mandatory. Chris Algieri is not Pacquiao's mandatory. So any way you slice it, these situations aren't comparable. Anyway, I'm not on board with the fight. I don't like it. Again, if anyone wants to have a debate with me and compare situations with Mayweather did the same thing, allegedly, let's go. You know what I mean? Just intelligently respond to me. Let me know if you guys like Chris Algieri. Again, I'm not trying to knock the dude. I like him. I just think he has business at 140. There's a lot of good fights. I would love to see him fight Mauricio Herrera, Lamont Peterson, Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner, any of the top guys. If Terrence Crawford wants to move up, any of those guys are beautiful fights. Even a Ruslan Provodnikov rematch I would entertain. I just don't like the Chris Algieri fight. And I like Chris Algieri. Make sure you like the video. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.